What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's video where we will take a look at another full XPG build. This is, I think, the third in a row when we're talking about full, let's say, product brand-based build as much as possible. So we have a case, we have an AIO, we have RAMs, we have fans, and we have a power supply as well from the same brand. This is XPG VALOR MESH WHITE. Then we have the Levante X 240 white addressable RGB. Next in line for powering up the whole system, we have XPG KYBER 850 gold. This is a non-modular power supply. And we have four of these. These are XPG Hurricane 120 addressable RGB PWM fans. Now, what's it all about? When we start with the case, we get four non-RGB black fans. And when you have such nice case, it would be really a shame not to use at least white fans. So this is where the Hurricane 120 addressable RGB PWM fans come in play. And because of it, I decided to remove the original fans that come with the case, place three on front, one at the rear. Quite nice orientation when we're talking about the back logo. So when you look at it in the front, it has a nice XPG logo written straight, and the cables can be rearranged quite nicely inside this case. Why is this important? It's important because they can daisy chain both connections, which means PWM has a connection that goes to your motherboard and another extender for connecting another fan and another fan and another fan. So this comes to play with these three on front, where they can daisy chain both addressable RGB and PWM and connect it to their motherboard header without any problems or having too much excess of cables or using multiple ports or whatever. Three fans on one, even though you do have six cables running out, you can nicely rearrange them without single problem. Now, when we're talking about the specs of the fans, now you might already heard about them, but 120 times 120 times 25. We have fluid dynamic bearing, 4-pin PWM for controlling the speeds, which go from 600 to 2000 RPMs with maximum airflow 51 CFM, 1.47 millimeters H2O, 19.8 decibel noise, which is at the maximum, and this is incredible. Then for the addressable RGB, of course, we have 3-pin 5 volts addressable RGB header, and mean time before failure 230,000 hours. Now these fans are quite good, except as already stated in a couple of past videos, recently I've been using loads of performance fans which have CFM up to 80, but we'll get to the benchmark part and I'm going to explain everything. Then we have the KYBER 850 gold power supply, which is a non-modular power supply, but it has a 12 VHPWR cable and loads of other connections as well. But it's quite interesting. Non-modular with 12 VHPWR kind of prevents additional possibility of burnout just because it's already pre-attached to your power supply. So the only thing that you have to do is connect it properly to your GPU. Unfortunately, I don't have such smaller GPU because the case has a certain limit of space when we're talking about the GPU length. So all my RTX 4000 series actually go above these front fans. So I had to use something that goes with standard PCI Express 8-pin cables. Now when we discuss the power supply, it's quite smaller in the terms of size, 150 times 140 times 86. We have 124-pin for your motherboard. You have two EPS cables, one is 8-pin and the other one is 4 plus 4-pin. Then we have 12 VHPWR, 12 plus 4-pin. You have one PCI Express cable which divides into two, so 2 6 plus 2. And we have two SATA plus Molex cables, so you eventually end up with 6 SATA and 1 Molex. This is quite cool because it actually kind of acts like a modular power supply. You don't have additional PCI Express cables. You don't have two EPS cables running out. It's basically down to the minimum of everything, and it comes down to this. So yeah, and the cool thing, it's a compact form, so it can quite nicely be placed inside any case, if it's a MIDI tower, MITX or something similar to that. Then we go to the Levante X 240. As you can see, I placed it here on top. rotated the pump, because you can rotate the inner mirror effect that has the XPG logo. You just have to remove the pump block top cover and rotate it. Just be careful, don't touch the XPG logo because you will definitely ruin it. So be careful and precise while doing that, just because keeping the nice aesthetic design of the block top is well, going to be really appreciated, because it does look really cool, and you've seen that in Levante X 360 that I covered. So all in all, I would say you can rotate it as you wish. You're not fixed with a certain position, and that's really good. You just have to remove this cover, and slightly you have one standoff that locks into the position, and that's it. Quite easy. The tubes are fair enough length, and the complete white design, especially with the tubes, is definitely a nice touch. When we're talking about connecting the AIO, you only have to connect 4-pin PWM and addressable RGB, which also has daisy chain possibility, as well as the fans, because we also have the Hurricane fans over here. So everything in this case is daisy chainable, and you don't have to use some excessive fan hub or addressable RGB hub, because everything can be used as this. With this, I only used 2 addressable RGB headers on the motherboard, just because I don't want to put too much LEDs on one header so it doesn't work eventually, or the color doesn't shine as it should. So that's another topic for another story. And finally, if we come down to the case, we have a VALOR Mesh White version of the case, and as you can see, you could place a 360 on front, or 280 or 240. Then you're limited to the space for the GPU additionally. But regardless of that, you can place a 240 at top. It gets close to the VRM passive heatsinks of the RAMs, but it doesn't touch them or anything similar to that. And you still have about 1.5 cm or even 2 centimeters to get to the part where they touch the RAMs. So the clearance is quite alright, and 240 on top sounds like a good option here. And I'll tell you with the benchmarks why it sounds quite interesting. Now, of course, additionally, if you want to place more fans, you could do that on the power supply shroud compartment. And one interesting thing, the hard drive cage is detachable in terms of it comes detached already. So if you don't have hard drives, you don't have to fiddle around in the compartment for the power supply and remove it so you could additionally store the cables or anything similar to that. You just either place it inside if you have hard drives, or you don't have to do anything whatsoever about it. Now at the back, as you can see, cable management could be done quite nicely. Loads of space in the power supply shroud compartment, loads of standoffs to use the zip ties and tie up the cables quite nicely and organize everything properly without any problems. You do need to maybe flatten the 24 pin a bit more than usual, but that's just to have a clear and standard closure of the back side panel. Additionally, you have 2 2.5-inch SSD mounting brackets at the back to place those SSDs. All in all, when we're talking about the case, the only thing that I would suggest, if the tempered glass had white rims, that will look really nice. But since I don't have a white GPU and I placed this ASRock Arc A770 Phantom Gaming 16GB GPU, since it's black, I guess the rims kinda do fit nice. So all in all, we have a bit strange combination, but regardless of that, AMD Ryzen 5 7600X and Arc A770. It's not for performance in terms of gaming, this is just for benchmarking in terms to get the scores and to see the thermals with this configuration. So, since I mentioned that, we have AIDA 64 Extreme Edition, CPU went up to 87 degrees and clock speeds went up to 5375, while the GPU went up to maximum 50. Let's check out what we have with the Cinebench R23 and how it competes with something I did yesterday. So thermals go from 86 to 87. Clock speeds from, it only touched once 5275, but it stayed stable at 5300 megahertz. And the scores, well, basically 14,277 it starts, and it's always reaching near 14,400, having an average, I would say, about 14,330, 40, something like that, which is 450 more than the NZXT T120 RGB with 2 fans. I know we're talking about the 240 AIO here comparing to an air cooler, but we also have an SDXT case that has fans that are on the same air pressure, and these somehow manage to pull it out, giving better performance for your CPU, and the GPU is quite alright as well. So I would say comparing all of that, giving everything into consideration, which includes additional fans, this Levante X 240, I think this combination is quite sweet. And I haven't tested 240 in quite some time, and this one really did impress me, because 360 can go up to almost touching 15,000 in Cinebench R23, while this one kind of does quite nice, 14,000, almost 400, and that's really impressive, I do have to say. The design is outstanding. Shame, I really do have to admit, just for the looks and for the visuals, not for the performance or anything else. Shame I don't have a white GPU, which will fit quite nicely, because everything here is white, including the RAMs, AIO, motherboard and whatnot. Oh, well, except for the power supply, but you don't see that, so yeah, there's that. So guys, today we had a couple of XPG products, which all of them are quite outstanding in their own way. So all in all, big thumbs up to XPG. First, for the VALOR Mesh in white. It's a quite nice case, compact, but really nice. Levante X 240, I mean, what can I say? Big thumbs up for this one. And PC Crazy approved badge for this AIO. And then we have the KYBER 850 gold power supply non-modular, that also kind of does impress in its own ways. I'll put the links for all products that I mentioned here regarding XPG, so you can check out if you wish. Of course, it's all up to you. And finally, at the end of the video, as per usual, if you're not a subscriber but you want to see more of this content, don't forget to subscribe. It's just a click away, and in addition of that click away, additionally click the like button. Eventually, if you don't want to miss any future content, click the notification bell, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.